Hey kids!
Welcome back.
Every week it's a new challenge trying to figure out how to welcome you back into the arms of the Bias Boys. So this is Bitch and Scared, and how you doing, Rob?
I'm doing good. I'm ready to talk some horror.
Did you hear? I laughed so hard yesterday. Did you hear about the evil clown donut delivery service?
I have not heard of this. How did you hear about it? Was it online or like you saw a commercial on TV? Or?
It's nowhere near us. I mean, it's in Texas.
Oh, okay.
Which, granted, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how business is right now, but yeah, it's not a tie-in to the film release of It, but you know, because they'll probably get sued. But it's definitely like free publicity. But yes, it's in the Dallas area. It's called Hertz Donuts, and you can like pay. I think it's $10, and you can have an evil clown deliver your donuts.
A specific evil clown.
Yes, someone will dress up as an evil clown.
Is there even a delivery service for donuts in general?
Probably.
Okay, I've never even heard of that service before either.
I mean, this is just like their specific restaurant, so I'm sure everyone tries to do it.
Well, what I mean by that question is just like, I would love to have donuts delivered to me, regardless of an evil clown, so that's an awesome service anyway.
You heard of Voodoo Donuts?
Yes, I have, but I've never had them.
Because they smell amazing.
Do they have them here in LA?
There's one at City Walk.
Universal. Okay.
Yeah, but the line was ridiculous. So I was like, wait 2 days to get that delivery.
No, that's a goal.
Yeah, but yeah. So if you like hate someone and you want to scare the shit out of them, you can have a clown deliver them donuts.
I wonder. So did it say like what they do, or they just show up in costume, but they don't like jump out at you at the door or something? Because I don't know. I don't think you can get sued off of stuff like that, but.
I mean, it just says like you can request to have the red-haired circus mutant deliver a batch of donuts to the workplace or dwelling of a friend or foe.
I think that's cool, and it's obviously good timing to do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It just sucks that regular clowns aren't getting this particular type of task to deliver donuts to happy families. It's the evil clowns we want delivering our food.
Well, people will probably run from an evil clown, but if a regular clown shows up, then children will probably be mean to them, and they'll cry on the inside. So anyway, that was just a little
funny.
thing.
I've never heard of that. That's awesome.
It's just timely. So that's all that I really have. Before we jump in,
okay,
I have a question.
Sure.
What's your worst fear?
It's a good question. Okay. So my initial fear that I always think about is, just being by myself, just being alone. That's something deep that I will take to my therapy. But no, honestly, something that's fear, I would say just darkness is really big. Like, I don't mind being in the dark, but if it's like completely silent on top of the dark, like that is something that I particularly get really like fidgety about. I mean, obviously I can say snakes and spiders and stuff, all of that creeps me out, but like if I'm in a pitch black room with no sound, I might go insane. So I guess maybe again it's just another sign of solitude that I don't like.
I kind of got chills because that is exactly my worst fear.
You're kidding.
No.
That's funny.
Yeah, my worst fear is like, well, it's close to that. I mean, yes, being alone, and I hate silence. That's why I can't go out in the country, because it's like, it's so quiet, but then you hear something. Mm-hmm. It's like, so yeah, in the city, I can't hear nothing. You might hear some guns pop off, but it's so far in the distance. It's fine. It's never next door. But my worst fear is going insane. My worst fear is losing my mind. I do pride myself on being healthy and working out and taking care of myself to the best of my ability. But my great-grandfather was schizophrenic. Getting deep here. But that scares me a lot.
Yeah.
And back then, I mean, they were Catholic. They were from Mexico. So when he told people, I'm hearing voices, they thought he was possessed. and their answer to that was to beat the shit out of him, beat the devil out of you.
Yeah.
And then he told them again, I'm hearing voices. They beat his ass again, and after that, he never talked about it.
God, yeah.
So,
that's horrible.
I don't have a direct link to that. Like, my parents don't have any sort of... My mother doesn't have any serious mental conditions. My father, bless him, he doesn't have mental conditions, but he's just like such a sweet man, and he's just like always on cloud nine. I think that's a condition in itself. So I don't really think I have anything to worry about, but whenever I see people on the street, this sounds so stupid, but and I can tell that they've gone through something, they're not with us anymore mentally. It's almost as if I'm going to catch the crazy. That's really offensive, but I'm like, oh my God.
Like being around them?
I have to remove myself because it's such a weird fear to have. And I understand that there are these psychoses and things, but yeah. But anyway, all the things that you said, I mean, that's how I feel like, that's what I imagine hell to be. Just being alone.
Yeah.
In the dark. Like just like this one little spotlight and I'm just in it, but there's nothing else there. There's nothing.
I can't remember if I told you this story or not. I told a couple of friends of mine this. I was visiting friends in San Francisco, and a friend of mine gave me his place to stay for that weekend. So his setup is this giant studio. It's like an open one bedroom or something. It's pretty spacious. But when those lights go out, and the way that the bed is like in the literal corner of the opposite side of the front door, like you're facing all of this space. So I usually fall asleep to the television because, again, I like to have sound. I just grew up that way, and it's easier for me to, fall asleep. So when that initially happens, that's fine. And then when I wake up, I'm in just pitch black with no sound, and it's like, how do I turn over and just decide to go to sleep? I'm consciously aware that there is nothing in front of me right now. So I do my best to turn over. So I'm not looking at this open space. I'm just looking at a wall. And I'm laying there. I couldn't even tell you if I was asleep or, half asleep or awake. But he's got these, those big fluffy comforters that just absorbs a lot of air under you, and you can kind of like flatten it or get it all fluffed up. Those kind of like comforters, or I don't know, they're just big and
like
fluffy.
A pillow top?
Kind of like,
I don't know.
Yeah, anyways. So I'm laying there, and all of a sudden there's just this weight of compressed air behind my back. I've never felt this before in my life. So it really startled me. And and here's the thing, like, you'll watch horror movies and you'll just be like, oh, don't do this. I was in a little bit of form of paralysis. Like, I could not move, and I just gasped this air, and I was just like, right? And then it took me almost a minute to turn around and actually see if there was something behind me.
Oh my God.
It was a very intense, like, 90 seconds of my life. But it really felt that somebody sat next to me, because there was just this weight just pressured behind my back. And I don't know where it came from. Nothing was there, of course, but man, did I stay up for the next like 2 or 3 hours.
Or was there something there?
And like I told my friend
the history of that building,
whose place it is, and he was just like, wow, I didn't even, and he doesn't have, well, he has the TV in his room, but it's not like facing him in the bed. He doesn't watch it when he goes to sleep. I just don't know how people do it. So yeah, that was a pretty intense thing.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Good story, Rob. Thank goodness. All right. Well, guess what, guys? I finally saw the new It movie.
Yes, I dragged him to it.
He dragged me kicking and screaming.
I just had, because I wanted to talk about it so bad. And if you guys haven't figured it out, our topic today is clowns. And fear. We are going to review the movie and then go into some other creepy clowns in entertainment. But I made Nate see this sooner than later.
I really wanted to see it, but
yes,
it was definitely like a timely thing. Like, I need to see it now, or I won't see it until next summer, and it'll be like, well, I've seen so many memes by now, I can pretty much guess what happens in this movie. And I've already seen the TV movie, so I had a pretty good idea of going in, but still, it's still a disturbing movie.
Yeah. Let me just say, though, the theater that we went to in the specific auditorium had superb sound.
It was so loud.
It was so loud and detailed, surround everywhere. I just was like, I'm so glad he gets to experience it this way, because the sound was so amazing.
It was like my brain was going back and forth between, this is fucking loud, but then I was like, well, it's not hurting my ears, so I guess it's fine. But yes, it was very like a, what is that, like I was enveloped in the experience.
Yeah.
Feelings.
So initial reaction is that I really enjoyed this movie.
Excellent.
One reason being because it's an improvement.
Yes.
When we receive remakes and reboots, they usually don't come close to the original. This was a great example of how a remake can be made.
Yes.
And how it can improve from the original. Now, this does not put any sort of like negative aspect towards the original. What I mean by improved is that you do not come out with the exact same thing that you saw 10, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And you also, not only that, you still make it creepy, even though you already know how it ends and how the story goes. And so I'm not saying that this was... yes, I am saying that it is better, but I mean, I'm just saying these are two different movies told with the same plot. That's how remakes should be made, and I really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. And I think that there were still plenty of surprises.
Yes, I agree.
You know, I think that a lot of the character development is closely related to the book. And I don't remember the TV movie that well. I do remember being scared of it, but now looking at it as an adult, I'm like, he doesn't look scary to me.
I'll do my best to fill in the blanks if you have the TV minis, but I didn't read the book, so I just...
It's fine. It's just, I think updating it, when you update something, you have to make it with the times, and they did that brilliantly. Mm-hmm. So everyone who's watching this movie now, it's like either you were their age in the 80s, or... it's like you kind of have a fondness for that time. It's like I don't have a really good grasp of the 80s. I was a baby. So still, seeing that, I'm like, I remember my aunt used to dress like that, you know? The marquee, when they showed the theater, that was so much fun.
I figured you would pay attention to that.
I think they did it twice.
I want to say they did, because they had posters and the marquee, and I'm trying to remember if it was interchangeable.
Dream Child.
Yes.
But I thought they had Critters too.
Not the second
Critters,
one. I think was on Bill's wall.
Okay.
He had Beetlejuice and Critters on his wall. Lethal Weapon and...
I didn't see that one.
Lethal Weapon was on the marquee, and I think Batman.
Yes, Batman. That was the other one that I saw. That was a lot of fun. Those were good touches, because it's like, yes, you were transported, you get this nostalgia.
How detailed is that? Mm-hmm. I wonder if that was the only horror movie that came out during that year. Or maybe around that time, because like Nightmare 5, like that's an interesting choice to
But
put
I think
in.
it was definitely like, that was August of '89. That was when it came out, and it was New Line, so that's why they threw it in there.
Yeah, that's probably what it was.
I think most of them were New Line. Like
okay.
Not Beetlejuice, but yeah.
So funny thing, did you read about how Freddy almost made it into the movie?
No.
Yeah, so...
was he going to appear to be Freddy?
Kind of. So if you think about it, in the TV movie, they used a lot of Universal monsters because at that time, that's what scared kids.
Right.
In the 80s, Freddy was that scary. I mean, yes, and it is New Line as well.
They could have gotten away with that.
This version is at New Line, so they could have gone away with it. But they were thinking about using the fears, the monsters for that time. So this is why they brought in the mummy. And, in the TV movie, there was the werewolf, which you kind of saw because when they were in the house and they were all being attacked downstairs and then those claws came out of his glove. That was sort of like a werewolf homage to it, but technically that was supposed to be Freddy's nails.
Oh, really?
Is where I'm thinking they were going to put him in.
Oh.
if they had kept it, but I had read that he almost made it in. But then they decided that they didn't want to be too meta about it because it is a new line product, and yeah.
So I want to talk about the children because they were excellent actors. Like, they made me feel bad about myself. I was like, ugh, I got to take another acting class. But they were really great. They were excellent. I think that they were all cast really well. Richie got on my nerves.
I noticed that. I was surprised that you...
He was a little too much. And I know that 13-year-old boys, they're like that. But it was like every single time. Like, Stan is saying, I saw this woman. You know, and they're talking about shit that scares them. Was she hot? No, Richie, she wasn't hot. It's like,
he was very into his puberty right then. Like, that's pretty. I mean,
couldn't. It was too much. And I think probably at that point, nothing had really scared him yet. I think he was the one who hadn't experienced anything. Everyone else, they had been touched. They had seen it, and so he was just joking around.
Yeah, he was the one of the last to be influenced, and I think because his biggest fear was clowns, so they didn't really, and I think it was kind of his job to be the funny one. So if he was sort of tainted with fear so early, we probably wouldn't have gotten that.
He was still funny. I still laughed. And kudos to Mike. I can't think of his real name right now. He plays Mike in Stranger Things.
I'm sorry. So, okay, go ahead. Yeah. It's Finn. It's Finn Winford.
Yes, Finn Winford.
I'm sorry, Wolford.
I knew it was like Wolf something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Finn, he was very different from Mike on Stranger Things. So clearly we can see he has a nice little range. He's doing great things. So
yeah.
But as far as the character development, Beverly's character in the TV movie, I think she was too innocent. And obviously it's like they have all this shit going around like she's a slut, and she's not. Even if she was, let her have her fun.
No slush.
But, in the movie it's like she had pigtails on the TV movie and she was like a little girl. But Beverly is like she's becoming a woman. And she was it's probably very accurate where you see children going through puberty. She was kind of taller than the boys. She looked more like a teenager. The boys looked like boys.
I wanted to ask you, is she older than the boys, or are they all in the same grade? I couldn't...
I think they're all supposed to be... And I remember, like, part of the book where it was, like, talking about them being 11.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. Which it even says in the movie. I think they made them a little older in the movie, so they're supposed to be 13, around that age. But, yeah. Her story was so much more developed.
It was detailed. We got a little bit more. I heard in the book she even has a lot more than what this movie even showed.
Probably.
Like they didn't even dig any deep to what like apparently
they talk about her sexuality and how she's like starting to think about things, and this was something that I was like, man, they're really hinting at it. Maybe I'm the only one who sees it. But there was a scene where she sees Henry and his little friends hanging out, and they're doing something with their dicks. I don't know. They have their pants down, and then one of his friends starts like jacking Henry off, and he's like okay with it. And then one of his friends is like, you want me to put it in my mouth? And Henry's like, what? He's like, I don't mind. And then he beats the shit out of him, because then it's like, whoa, no. And but Beverly sees that, and so then it makes her start to think about her own sexuality. And I was like, that's really interesting.
This was in the book.
This is in the book.
Yeah, and I felt they had talked about that scene being in the movie.
Because he is so on these boys. He is on these boys, Henry. Like when he like licks his hand and he puts it on Bill's face, and he's like trying to cut into Ben, and it's like... There was so much of that, like him coming after the boys, and I really felt like he was just homo-repressed deeply, and they kind of touched on it, but they didn't really go there with the movie.
Well, I definitely want to get to Henry at a later point, because I do have a question about that. But I really did enjoy Beverly. She was a lot of fun. I think... Even though she still is growing up, she knew herself where she was at that age. She was very daring and, kind of fun. She knew that some of the boys... Well, I don't know if she knew that some of the boys kind of liked her, but I think she was kind of okay with being admired a little bit, but not too much. I don't know. It just, to me, when she would be hanging out with them and she didn't really care to like get undressed by, in front of them, and she was fine by it. I think she just felt comfortable being around them.
Well, and what I was going to say about her, the fact that they hit it home where it's like something's happening with her father. He's doing something to her. She is more mature, and I think that when that happens to kids, you grow up really fast. Unfortunately. And so I think that is another reason of why she exuded maturity. She seemed like she was in high school. Mm-hmm. And because she's been through some shit. These other little boys haven't gone through nothing yet. Bill, he's dealing with stuff, he's coming into that fold of being an adult. But Beverly was the mature one. And she was, I think the bravest one. I can say probably the bravest one out of all of them, even though she was still scared sometimes. Like when they were all being attacked at the same time, she hit the monster with something.
Oh, well, she was always the one that was like, no, we have to go after him, or no, we can't just leave, or we can't leave Bill by himself. She was the first one to go into
the house to help them.
Who wants to stay on lookout? All the boys raise their hands.
All the boys, yeah.
She's the first one to jump off the quarry. Like, that, she definitely had a lot of courage and confidence behind her, so.
I really appreciated that.
Sophia, what was her name? Sophia Lillis? Yeah.
I've never seen her before.
Neither have I.
Is she British?
Probably.
Yeah, all these British children coming over here.
They are taking over. No. She was born in New York.
She probably grew up in England. No, I'm just kidding. But yes, excellent actress. They were all really great. Bill, Mike. I feel like it took a long time for them to get Mike into the fold. And I think that's how the story
Well,
is
in
written.
the TV movie, he doesn't show up at all until the end. And then, the Losers Club is finally formed. And then he brings all the, details and stuff. So it was nice to get him in just a little bit early, even though it still wasn't a lot. He was the first scene of the movie.
Exactly. And they still have him throughout. Well, sort of throughout. I mean, we see some of his story.
How did you interpret his grandfather's sort of saying to him, like, you're either one of them or
all of the parents were horrible.
I thought so too.
Like, and they're not even really there, but all the parents that you see are fucking horrible. And it's like it's an interesting psychological observation of how these parents treat their children and how they're insecure with their own lives. Eddie's mother, she was a basket case, but Mike's grandfather, even though he was really harsh, he was probably the best example of a parent. Mm-hmm. He was like, I'm getting you ready for the world. And I think it definitely goes along the lines of the world that we live in now. It was the 80s, but it was like, it's the conversation where you talk about like a black parent talking to their black child. This is the conversation I have to have with you. And then immediately after that, we go to the school and the kids are like, hey, like all the boys are just all hanging out, living their best life. And then we go to Beverly getting shit dumped on our heads. So it's like the boys are just so not there. Mike and Beverly had to mature quickly.
Well, that's the thing. You brought up the fact of the time that they were living in. Even in the 80s, it was very heavy. They mentioned that Mike is being homeschooled.
Yeah.
People knew of Mike. They just never saw him because it was against his well-being to go to a public school, let alone a school. Yeah. He had to be homeschooled. And the second time that I watched this, I listened to what his grandfather was saying about, you either going to be one of these lambs and you're going to have to take it out, or you can be one of us.
Yes,
and take charge. The second time I watched this, I don't want to say that he was a bad parent or guardian to him by saying those things. No. Mike says to him, I am not you and I'm not my father.
Yeah.
I think Mike wants to hold out hope that there is something different for me, even though black people are not viewed as human beings. But his guardian, he could only teach him what he knows. And that's not even a fault to the grandfather, but like, he can't really just tell this little boy, go out and dream. He had to live in the now, and the now is the only reality I think his grandfather even knows.
Exactly. And the reality includes that his parents were murdered.
Yeah.
They were burned to death in their house. Mike just happened to survive. So it's like all of that stacked, and it's like, well, I have to protect you the best way I can, which is to tell you the world out there is evil, and they're going to do evil things to you.
But
so
you
I need
wonder
you to be
if
ready.
that's already just sort of like presetting him to just be this type of person, like not even giving him a chance to break the mold.
Yes.
It's like where do you draw the line to let them grow themselves, or do you just, because it's just like if you grew up, you know, in the ghetto or the South or something, and you're just like, you're gonna go out there and you're just gonna do this because you have to toughen up, or you're gonna be a plumber because that's our family job, and it's just not giving a child a way to figure themselves out. So you just wonder,
Yeah.
was he right or wrong with it? But again, he only knew the reality that he knows.
And I don't think that he was wrong, but it's like what you said, it's what he knows, and he just wanted to protect him. My job is to keep you safe. My job is to make sure that you live. I'm not here to be your friend or to make sure you're really happy. I want you to live because my child is not alive.
Yeah.
So then the example that I think of, and this is just like one of those small examples, Oprah Winfrey, she told a story about being a little girl. She was like 5 or 6, and her grandmother was washing clothes like by hand and then hang drying them. She's like, I need you to watch me. I need you to do this. This is what you're going to be doing. You need to learn how to do this because this is all you're ever going to be able to do. And she said even at the age, she was like, no, this is not going to be me. I have other things I'm going to do. Now, not every child has that ability to sort of see past what is happening in front of them, and that's the unfortunate consequence of a parent saying, this is how it's going to be. You have to be ready for this because this is what's going to happen. I think now in modern time we have shifted a little bit. I say we, but not really. But in my outside looking in observation, you know, of a black parent explaining something to their child, they do it in the most loving way possible. But at the same time, you have to be aware that these are the things that are going to happen. This is how people see you. So he did the best he could.
Yeah, he did.
So,
and yeah, again, Mike Hanlon, chosen. Jacobs, I thought he was great too for, you know, the amount of time that he was on.
Yeah, he was great.
It would have been nice to see him, just to, you know, kind of segue into Ben. It was unfortunate that Ben took on the historic role, because that was sort of Mike's thing. This is what was told to me. I remember a friend of mine told me that in the books, every member of the Losers Club had a specific skill that they brought to the table, which was the demise of, you know, it.
Yeah.
And Mike's skill was that he knew the history of the town. He knew the backstory of Pennywise, and he was able to give information on how to defeat it. And that sort of role was passed over to Ben's character. And I think it's because he was in the movie more, and I think maybe the pacing of the movie just needed, I guess, another character to bring that history in. And, you know, I remember the director saying something like, we're going to make this movie as if there isn't a part 2. And I don't know if that had changed while they were making it, but they needed to get all of this info out in case there was not a grown-up, you know, chapter 2. And so it didn't make sense for all this historic stuff to just come in at the very end of it, you know, with only like 10 minutes away till they go to battle. I guess we needed to kind of hear about Pennywise throughout the movie, and so it was up to him to do it. But again, that just, to me, is just another opportunity to bring Mike more in.
Yeah.
And so that kind of sucked.
Yeah. I mean, because I think that they definitely could have moved stuff around. They could have met him earlier on, saved him earlier on, and maybe... I don't even think that would have hindered Henry's little arc, because it's like after they beat his ass, you know, then it's like he sort of like went away for a little while until he came back and started trying to kill everybody.
Yeah.
But, you know, I feel like they could have done it, but it's fine. It was still... great.
Yeah. Aside from that, though, yeah, Ben. Like, I really liked his character.
He seemed like, looking at all of them, I was like, he is such a baby.
Yeah.
So that whole scenario of them all having sex in the sewers, I'm like, I'm so glad they didn't even think to do that shit, because he looked like he was 8. He looked so young. So I'm like, I don't want them to even hint that these children are trying to get it on. No. Thank you.
He was such a likable character.
He was.
And this was the character for anyone who really feels left out. Just a complete outsider. New. I don't know if he was new to the city of Derry or the town of Derry, because I remember from the TV movie, some of the movie was kind of through his eyes because of the fact of him moving in with his mom's sister. And so he was obviously new to the town. Not many people, knew him. And then he meets everybody for the first time. And all the rest of his friends are already a group as it is. So he was, just another new member. But I just from his, like, stumbleness of his bike, holding his project, and just being all awkward in front of Beverly, I just thought that was so adorable.
That's
and
great.
he was just good at it as well. But again, he still had this sort of like confidence where it didn't let him get him down. He found other things to do. He loved history. He would go to the library all the time and just spend his time there. And he wouldn't go to a corner and cry that he didn't have friends. He just got into his interests, and I thought that was cool. And honestly, like, he took a lot of licks in this movie. Like, he is a tough kid.
I mean, he fucking cut him.
Yeah, he is a very
Like,
tough kid.
no.
Something that they didn't do in the TV movie is, there was a lot of, like, not necessarily cry wolves, but Henry would always just talk a lot of game, but he would never follow through. Either something would stop him, or he would just like, ha 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 ha. But like, in this one, like, Ben gets cut. He gets punched in the face, like, dead on.
Yeah.
And he takes it and he gets up and he runs. He's just
he was
going to
bash Mike's head in with the rock.
Yeah.
And he probably would have gotten away with it.
Exactly. But again, that scene though, where he does get cut in his stomach, and we see that car of old people drive by. Do you think that was an it thing, or do you think that those were grown-ups literally ignoring what they saw, and then Pennywise just added that little balloon tidbit? Because everybody else saw the car too, but it's like, I wonder if it was just like a fear aberration to where...
Well, and maybe that could have been their fear of like, oh, we're about to get caught.
Yeah, it could be, But I didn't know if all of that was from it. Was it for just Ben, or was it for like all the kids? Because then the balloon pops out, and I'm like, well, were those old people real? I don't know.
Yeah, I was inclined to believe that they were not real.
Okay,
that it was just they're coming by like, huh.
Yeah,
this looks fun.
But at the same time, there is this sort of thing with Derry where the grown-ups tend to just look the other way. They don't want to get involved with any of the drama of the town.
They don't.
I mean, just look at the old lady who watched Georgie die.
I mean, she didn't really see it, but yeah, she was just kind of like...
She saw,
What's he
like,
doing?
the
Whatever.
kid. Yeah, there was no
then
kid
she
there
looks
when
back
you
and
did
it's like,
see a kid. You
blood?
see blood. No, I'm going back in the house.
Let me go, like, put my nail polish on so I can make this phone call. Yeah, Bill's parents were terrible.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't even see the mother. Like,
Yeah, you don't see the
that
mom.
broad's just playing the piano one time.
I mean, I would say that, his dad was obviously dealing with Georgie's death differently than Bill. And, it's been a year.
It hadn't even been a full year, though.
I don't know if it was just a sensitivity level of how he was conversing with Bill on his theory of him just being missing. I'm not a parent. I don't know what the right answer is for that. Do you bring your child to reality, but don't force feed it to him? I don't know. I just think there was a little bit of lack of understanding from where Bill's concerned about dealing with what's going on.
Yeah, I think that was another example of someone cutting down their child's creativity.
Yeah.
It's not like him being creative, but he has hope. He has this thought that his brother is still out there somewhere. He hasn't given up. So even if you have given up, it's kind of like, look at my son. He's a kid and he has all of this life in him. He loves his brother. you know what? Maybe he is still out there.
Yeah.
I think he's dead. But hey, you never know. That movie Changeling with Angelina Jolie, where it's based on the story of that little boy going missing, she never gave up.
Yeah.
Like, that woman spent her entire life looking for her son. She never gave up. So, granted, it might be hopeless, but I think that cutting that thought process down, that was not good. So
the way that I looked at that was Bill thinks that it's his fault in a way.
He does.
And I think that people who hold that will also hold on to the possibility of him being alive, because by accepting it, then he has to internally deal with the fact that it could be his fault. And even though it wasn't, he still has to process that. And I don't think he was ready to really even accept the possibility of it, him being his fault. But
yeah, and you saying that, the parents probably think it's his fault too.
yeah, well, there you go.
They think it's his fault.
Yeah,
That's
that is
why
a
the
possibility.
mother's just like, she's checked out. She's left with the kid who basically killed the other one. That's how they feel, and so they don't want anything to do with him. I think that you hit that on the head. Yeah.
But Bill, what was his name? Jaden Lieberher, great actor.
Yeah, they're
like
all
he
excellent.
was great. Mm-hmm. He had a lot of monologues and just moments of sadness and drama where things were meant to be scary. And I just think that he was a good, leader, I think, to the group too. I think he pulled it off very well. One question for you: do you play in the rain when you were a kid?
In the summertime,
Okay.
because it was hot, so it would like the rain would feel so good.
Okay.
But in the fall, no, that just means that I'm waiting for the bus.
Okay.
Yeah,
I never did the rain thing. I didn't get it.
no.
I'm not calling this, bad Georgie for trying to kick it alone in the rain, but I don't have a desire to just play. I mean, it was pouring out. I don't see the fun in it. It's just not my
No.
thing. It's just something I'm not really understanding, but
No, it's not cute. It's not cute, really. Like, especially like if my brother can't go with me, I'm not gonna go play by myself.
thank you. I'm
thunderstorm.
trying to understand what the joy is of watching a boat go down a stream by myself in the like it was almost dark. That sun was not out. There was a little shade there, and
Stephen King was also going through like alcoholism when he wrote this book. Like, he was at the height of his alcoholism. So maybe I'm just kidding. I mean, he was, but oh, poor Georgie.
oh my god.
So I knew that was coming, obviously, and I think that added to it the fact that I know he's about to get his arm ripped off and he's gonna die. So that whole time I'm like, it's coming, this is terrible. But when those teeth came out,
yeah,
it was scary. And
I'm gonna ask you a question about that later, but yeah,
when I don't remember him getting snatched into the sewer. I know you heard me gasp.
yes, I
Because
did.
I was like, oh my god.
Yeah,
I thought he was just gonna lie there and die. I thought they knew he died. I didn't remember that he just disappeared and they didn't know.
well, all these kids are always missing. They
missing,
never
yeah.
find a body, so I think he has to always collect them.
When he snatched him, I just felt so bad. And they cast the nicest little boy.
I smiles for days.
He was so
just
nice.
so cheerful, so full of life.
And the last thing he does is scream for his brother. It was heartbreaking. It really was.
So who did it better, him or Drew Barrymore in Scream?
Well, granted, when I saw Scream, I didn't know that she was going to die.
No, I know. It was more rhetorical. I was just making fun. But he held his own as this one-man show of starting off the movie.
And I feel
great.
I feel worse for him because he's a little boy.
Of course.
No, I feel bad for her. She's a teenage girl, but once someone gets to a certain age, it's like it does lessen because, they've lived.
Yeah.
They've experienced things. He just doesn't know. Granted, and this is a comparison from the other one. In the original with Tim Curry, where he pops up, "Hey, Georgie," and it's like, I mean, yeah, sure, of course I'll reach in there. You're not that scary.
Exactly.
With this one, he goes back and forth where it's like, oh, okay, we're having a good time, and then he
Georgie picks it up.
It's like you're kind of scary.
He picks it up, but at the end of the day, I don't want to disappoint my brother.
Don't want to disappoint my brother, and oh my god.
He just fed on that. That's all it took.
Yeah.
Let me say something about this first scene. So when I read that this movie was going to be rated R, I went into this movie like completely like I don't know how far they're going to go. Because, I mean, by the end of the movie, it felt more character development. It was less of a gory horror movie type thing. But the fact that they decided to make it rated R, I was like, they can do whatever they want to these kids. And I just had no idea how far they were going to go. And so when it's implied in the TV movie that his arm gets bitten off, and you show the teeth coming to the screen, I'm like, okay, fine. Rated R, we get to see it this time, and I just did not know what they were gonna do. And yes, that initial just bite just broke me.
It was terrible,
and it wasn't even instant. He didn't die instantly. This boy is crawling with a arm just completely off, and they showed the arm, and like, I think it's a thing that it happened to a kid that is shocking because I've seen worse things on screen.
We forgot to say spoiler alert.
Oh, no.
But you guys know.
Yeah, no, I'm sure
Y'all
people know that we're reviewing this.
Eaten.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, I just didn't know they were going to show that. And then just to have this kid try and crawl for his life.
Yeah. Like, and the first one, it was just like, he's just there.
Yeah.
Like slumped over. But yeah, it was terrible. I mean, it's not like this movie isn't so gory and graphic, but it doesn't need to be.
No,
because
it doesn't.
These are little kids. When he's carving into Ben's stomach with a knife, that's terrible. And Ben is he looks very young. He's very sympathetic. These things are happening to young kids, and it's scary.
Yeah,
it's scary.
Exactly.
You don't need gore. But to feel it.
He did a great job.
So real quick, Bill Skarsgård or Tim Curry?
Oh, how dare you!
I dare.
They are completely two different people. Are you talking about overall or just fear-wise?
Oh, I mean, well, I'm not talking about like their careers. I'm just talking about
no. Overall, as the clowns, like the clown character, or are you asking me like which one scared the most, or like
which one is most effective?
Most effective. Okay, I would say this one, and that's only because this movie allowed Pennywise to be more hands-on.
See,
there was a lot of visual aspects with Tim Curry, like even as the adults, his tactics showing all the graves in the ground and one's already buried. Just those little tidbits, I think, were fucked up. Pennywise was just more in this current one was just more hands-on, and that to me, the physical aspect, I think, gets to me a little bit more.
I mean, he might be more, he might fuck with their heads more because now when they're adults, he's gonna have to come at them differently because they've already defeated him once, so he has to scare them. He has to hit them at home.
Yeah,
And I'm not sure why everyone is so hesitant to... Because I feel like this comes from a lot of people like, Tim Curry's the best, don't insult him. It's like, ain't nobody insulting Tim Curry.
No,
I love Tim Curry. He was, Wadsworth. Classic. Nobody beats that shit. But he's... And when I was little, he was scary.
Yes.
Because he was just a creepy clown. But he's not scary now. Looking at the makeup is superior, in my opinion. And Bill Skarsgård performance... He's scary.
Yes.
He's very scary because, I mean, he really straddles that line of like being this clown, but never losing that demonic entity.
Yeah.
It's always right there. It's
I agree.
Scary. The way he moves, the way he talks, his eyes are just so scary. And
speaking of the eyes, did you notice? I saw him in an interview. And he actually has a lazy left eye.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
You can see that in the sewer. I think there's one other scene where he's putting himself together, and I think anytime he stares at you, if Bill relaxes his face a little bit, it will kind of veer to the side, and he used that as a way to make his facial features a lot more creepy.
Oh.
So, I mean, he used that to his advantage, you know? Yeah.
Go, Bill. I appreciate that because my left eye is slightly crooked. It's not a lazy eye, but it's not straight on. And if people look at it like, oh, your eye's crooked, fuck you.
I was looking for that the second time around, and I did notice it a couple of times.
I think he moves way too fast for me to notice.
No, exactly.
So yeah,
but so you would pick Skarsgård over,
yes.
over Curry for this one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Hands
Yeah.
down.
Like my first impression of the clown outfit and his makeup, I didn't agree with it at first. I thought the clothes was a little too bit old timey for me, but again, it fits with the story.
Yeah.
And you know, like I don't have a problem with it now, but just my initial reaction, I was like, I don't know exactly how it's gonna go. But then when I saw that first scene with him and Georgie talking, I was like, I'm sold.
Yeah.
Like
And
his
I think-
voice and everything just was so good.
That costume is much more period appropriate for him coming in and out of time, you know, because the other one is supposed to be set in the 50s, and it's like this clown makeup looks more modern.
Yeah.
It looked like it wasn't from the 50s. It was it was from the future.
Yeah.
So in the book, they allude to him being like millions, possibly billions of years old. It being very old. And it's like it's come from this other dimension. It's just like sort of almost unexplained. There's a character in the book called Maturin.
Okay.
Maturin. I can't say it. And it's this turtle creature who is just as old as it, but it's sort of like its polar opposite, and they are natural enemies. So they didn't obviously put it in the movie, because they were like this big old CGI turtle coming and trying to give them some sage advice.
But there was a little nod to it, as you noticed, right?
When?
So this is when Bill sees Georgie in his house. This is the first time he sees Pennywise. And
in the basement.
Well, yes, but before that, the light turns on in
when he
Georgie's
has the
room.
turtle in his
yes,
hand.
the Lego
Cute.
turtle. Yeah,
Cute.
and I think there were turtles on the wallpaper as well. I
Probably.
think there was.
I have to watch it again, but
Yeah.
cute. I didn't notice that, but yeah. So they left that out, but I think that this connects it to the Dark Tower series because all of these beings are like Maturin. I think is one of the guardians of the gates or something. There's like 12 of them.
Yeah.
So even with all of this backstory, it's like it is still very mysterious. He's not he's not a guardian, but it's like, what is it?
Yeah.
What is it? And
We were supposed to get a scene, but it got cut.
yeah,
And I heard it was pretty disturbing. So hopefully we'll get it on the Blu-ray. But
extended. Yeah.
yeah.
And I don't mind that. I like things don't always need to be explained.
Yeah.
It's a demonic entity that is just sort of all-encompassing. It can kind of do what it wants.
Yeah.
Yes, it has weaknesses because it feeds off of your fear. If you're not afraid of it, then it can't do as much damage to you.
Yeah.
So it has limitations, but I like creatures like that.
So Stephen King said that the scariest thing that he found in this movie was actually Stan's storyline with the flute lady in the painting.
She was scary.
Yeah.
That shit was weird.
That disfigured face and just the flute playing and just how he kind of hurled. It reminded me a little bit of like Mama a little bit, just the way that he was kind of creeping around. But, I think a big thing with Stan was the pressure to be like this, son of a rabbi, oh my
Mensch.
God. Man, okay, so he didn't know his Hebrew that well and he was practicing. The only thing the dad could think about is, what will the people think? The son of a rabbi. Like, it's more embarrassment on him. He's not thinking about
him.
He's not thinking about the kid.
Terrible.
Yeah, he's not thinking about the kid. He's like, how's it going to look to me if I
of the
have a kid who
neighbors.
doesn't know his shit? And it's just like that added pressure to just, and so, yeah.
Parents.
Yeah.
Parents. I mean, and this is a good example. Obviously, we're not saying all parents are terrible and you don't love your children, but there are a lot of parents who just don't know how to communicate with their children. They are so wrapped up in their own shit, and they're trying to put so much pressure on their kids to grow up. You need to be a man, and you don't let them just be kids and to be creative, and we cut off that creative expression so quickly. But again, also, I think this plays on the fear aspect, because that is why it likes children so much. They're easier to scare.
Yeah.
And their fears will manifest physically.
Exactly.
So he can get them like that. Adults, it's like, yeah, he can kill them, but they're not as easy to scare.
Yeah, well, they don't taste as good to him.
Yeah, because they're not scared.
Yeah.
So wanting your child to grow up more quickly and to be mature and to be ready for the world, you don't want them to have any fear. You don't want them to be afraid in some aspects.
Yeah.
So for some of them, maybe that's helpful, but then it's like you make them insecure, and that will bleed into fearfulness. You know, Eddie's mom, I mean, he was terrified of some shit that you can't really control because germs are everywhere. You're going to get sick. And all of the parents really contributed to their children's like broken psychosis of not being able to be a kid and not living up to their expectations of being an adult. So
Eddie was my favorite.
Eddie,
actually, I thought
he had a little mouth.
Yes, he did.
Thank God.
I thought he was hilarious. It actually took me a while to figure out if he was Richie or not, because both of them were pretty mouthy, and you know, they were making me laugh. So I was like, which one's Eddie again? But he's my favorite. I like him. I mean, it's one thing to be neurotic and scared of germs, but he took ownership. He was like, don't you know? And he was just giving out all the facts and like, you guys are gross. I'm not going in there and blah, blah, blah.
I mean, I wouldn't have gone in there either.
Yeah.
It's not even about germs. It's just about like nasty.
What do you call it? The gray water or something?
Nasty.
Oh, that was gross. But yeah, he was fun to watch. I really liked his character. And when they were in the house and, you know, he sees, you know, the leper again, and, you know, he just kind of like passes out and then falls to the ground. And oh my God, yes, when he broke his arm, oh my God,
he's like,
don't touch me. Yes.
God, that was
I see. That's the little things that I think just elevated this movie, was just that these kids were not just like 100% invincible. Like, some of these kids got hurt. I mean, Stan in the sewer. This devastated me so much when this happened, because it kind of happened in the movie. There's a part where he gets separated from the group, and this is why he's the most scared member of the Losers Club, which kind of goes into what's going to happen for chapter 2, is that they promise him, we are not going to leave you. We are going to sit together. We are strong. They need him to come along. He did not want to go. And then he gets down there and he ends up getting separated. Now, I know the other kids were distracted with Mike and Henry fighting up top, but he gets separated, and then he also gets caught and he gets bit. I mean, his entire face is covered by the woman's face. And he was just like, you guys aren't my friends anymore. And I hate, like, he felt a huge betrayal from those guys. And I think this is one of the biggest reasons why he didn't want to come back. And yes, he made the blood oath at the end, but he in the TV movie, he was the one that it was hard to convince. But he was one of the first that kind of saw him. And I think I liked his character in this one too versus the TV movie, because he had a voice. He spoke up. He stood, up to himself, and he didn't mind voicing his opinions and fears and whatever. But I just felt so bad for him that he had to kind of go through that. He didn't feel that his friends was looking out for him at that moment. And
yeah, I think that they did a good job of balancing them all out. Mike was probably the one that was most on the outside because he didn't know them that well. So it's like when they all were like, fuck this, we're splitting up, he was like, well, okay.
Like, I barely know y'all. I'm just gonna
since
go
y'all
home.
are gonna like kick rocks.
Yeah,
that pissed me off though. So when they went in the house the first time and the three of them split up, you know that there's a demonic thing fucking with you. Don't walk away from your two friends.
I have no idea
and
what
then,
that was about.
Again, like, what's in this room? Don't go in the room by yourself. Hey Bill, come with me at least. So that pissed me off. I don't care how old you are. You all know some shit's going on with you.
There's this heavy curiosity thing going on. I don't know. It didn't even seem like they were possessed to even or hypnotized to go into different rooms. It really was a conscious choice.
That was stupid.
But that clown room was legit though. I like that. Did you notice the Pennywise clown?
Oh, from like the original one?
Yeah.
No, I didn't see it.
You didn't see it? Oh, they showed it so many times. So it was right in front of the
maybe I did see it, but I can't picture it in my head.
It was right in front of the coffin, and it was on the left side. The first time I didn't notice it that well, but that second time I watched it, it was clear as day, right on the left side of the screen.
Well, that's nice.
It was a little shorter than the other clowns, but yeah, it was
I don't think I looked at that side of the screen for some reason. I was looking at the right, and I was looking at the middle, because that's where Bill Skarsgård was.
Okay.
I don't know. But no, overall, excellent storytelling. I think the visuals did not bother me at all. Like the visual effects, I thought they looked great.
I didn't think so that was going to be my question. A lot of people, when they first saw that mouth open up in the sewer, they were like, "Poor CGI, fuck this. This looks gross."
I didn't think it looked.
They
bad.
were saying Tim Curry's, practical effect teeth were more believable and creepier than just the CGI mouth opening thing that they did.
Maybe because it reminds me of a shark, but no, I think that it was very. I think it looked great. I mean, because they showed it multiple times, like when he opens his whole mouth and shows the deadlights to Beverly.
Yeah,
I thought it looked fine.
I don't know. It didn't bother me either, and I've seen way worse CGI than that also. So I think for the sake of the movie, I didn't mind it. No. But it's just like when he was dancing in the sewer towards the end. That was
kind of silly.
But you know how his head was still still, but the rest of his body was kind of.
It was creepy. But
I don't know
silly.
if that was supposed to be on purpose or not. But I mean, obviously you can tell it was CGI at that point and all of that. But it didn't bug me. But yeah, I didn't mind it, but a lot of people didn't like the CGI. I think for some people it took this, the creepy factor out of it. But one thing I do want to bring up is the composer, Benjamin Wallfish. So he did the music on Annabelle Creation, as well as A Cure for Wellness. Now I know that you
hated that.
Did you watch Cure for Wellness?
Yeah.
Okay. I love the music
convoluted
in that movie so much. And similarities that I notice is that he uses these little kids as these like singers to just kind of bring in sort of the theme of the movie. They're either just like doing their la 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 or just singing some kind of nursery rhyme or something. And he did it in both movies. And I was listening to the soundtrack, and there are tons of similarities with his music, and I just thought he did a really good job. But didn't you get that same feeling in the beginning when they're making the boat and the music's playing in the background, and then you come to find out that the mom is downstairs playing this creepy-ass music for the house, and I'm like...
Yeah, what was
Mom,
she going
what
through?
was that?
I know. She was already like on her way out.
But yeah, I think that may have surprised a couple of people to find out it was her playing it and it wasn't just background music. Yeah. But I wanted to give praise to Wallfish. I just think he did great music with this. So
I think that's really important to recognize all the artists involved, because all of these elements, when they're layered together, most people probably don't notice these things because it's just... when it's woven together, it's seamless and it's effective. When you notice it, I think you as an avid moviegoer, you're sort of paying attention to a lot of these things because you're reviewing the films. When you notice it, or at least when I notice these things, it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
That was distracting.
Yeah.
So when music is distracting, it's not good. Mm-hmm. So no, I can't really recall the music, but I think that's because it just went really well. Yeah.
So back to the Henry thing. He was a force to be reckoned with. Like that guy, I just think they did a really good job depicting on like heavy bullying and just the dangers that kids grow up in, and what parents send out into the world, especially at school. Like, geez, come on. Like, if you find out your kid's bullying, for one, reevaluate. Find out what the fuck's going on at home. Because, that shit's being channeled somehow, somewhere. Not to completely put it all on the parents, but it's just like...
It was on him, though.
Yeah, in this particular case...
You even see it. Like, we didn't realize until the end, oh, that's his father. Because we see him at the beginning, like, don't you do it.
Yeah. And we just thought it was a cop, like, don't do bad things.
But at the same time, it's like, he encourages that behavior. Otherwise, he wouldn't treat him like that. And he died. He had to die.
I had a little rant earlier this week because I had a conversation about Henry Bowers. And I'm just noticing a little bit more now that these sadistic psychopaths are just gay people who can't come out. And it's just like painting gay guys to just be borderline, psychopaths if not treated right. And it's just like, no, that's not who we are. And it's not because we're not getting enough D is making us crazy. I know it's a certain form of repressed feelings that we're not expressing. It's not
Yes.
just with gay people. I'm just noticing that when we get these token gay guys in these movies, they're fucking crazy because they don't come out. And you know, you look at Dahmer and all this stuff, and it's just like I don't want that to be our theme.
No, not at all.
And I just feel that they do this a lot, and it's starting to get annoying.
It is annoying, and honestly, I mean, they'd never ever give us any clear cut. He's gay.
No.
He's this, he's that. In the
book implies
they
it. And so in my mind, that's what's
I mean,
in
it's
my
more
head.
heavily. I mean, because they're kids. Kids. A lot of kids know exactly who they are and what they like. A lot of kids are like, I don't know. Do I like this? Do I not? And clearly, he's very mentally imbalanced and unhealthy.
And I'm not saying that's the only reason that drives him to being
No.
so rude or whatever. I mean, there's all these elements, but it just seems like, oh, he just must be in, repressing, male. It's just like,
Well, but to speak to that real issue, I hate kids like this.
yeah.
Kids like this made my life miserable. I didn't think about being gay. I didn't think about it, really. Like, I knew that I was attracted to men and women, and then I got to be 11, and people were terrorizing me. And I hadn't really thought about being gay or the word faggot.
Yeah.
Sorry if that's a triggering word, because I don't like that word either.
I don't like it.
A lot of those kids turned out to be repressed, and they were just they were just putting that on me. So seeing that, I mean, that was probably one of the most terrifying aspects. Beverly's father and Henry. He's very entertaining and scary, but they were the
heavy villains of the movie, in my opinion.
sorry, I'm getting weird. But yeah, they're the scary things. Moving on.
So let's see. How would you rate this movie overall? And without comparison, this is a standalone movie.
Yeah, and
how
it's
would
not,
you rate
not to
it?
compare it because I don't even really remember the original movie that well. But overall, I mean, it was fantastic. I think that all of the kids, they carried the story beautifully. Like, one of the parents was not good, and they weren't even in the movie.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Bill's dad, but
Yeah.
that scene was not good for me.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Skarsgård was fantastic. The makeup, the effects, the adaptation of the story. I think they did a great job. I love the 80s throwbacks. So,
New Kids on the Block.
New Kids on the Block. I
love
loved
that.
when she busted. I mean, they didn't see it, but she was like,
Yeah, it was
Back
just
to
sort
the
of the
door.
secret sort of
It was
relationship
cute.
that they were developing and
and
stuff
he
like
said,
that.
what did he say? Girl, please don't go.
Yeah.
So cute.
But I like it. Ben just had that subtle look of just like, no, I don't want the boys. Just, no, not this. And she, she's like, I got you. Oh, okay, so are you Team Bill or Team Ben?
That's so funny. I didn't even remember that they had this thing because I remember later that Bill has a whole wife.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's established that Beverly and Bill, they're the first love. They may not end up together, but it's established. I have you for that. You gave me that. There's that.
Oh.
So, Team Bill or Team Ben?
I mean, oh my gosh, and that's I would say I'm Team Ben just because he has to work a little bit harder.
Okay.
Because immediately Beverly's like, oh, it's Bill. Even though, yes, Bill is into her and he has a little crush on her. So she doesn't think of Ben like that right away. I think a lot of people can relate to that. We're like, oh, I have a crush on somebody, and they're not feeling me. They think I'm just the friend. I'm cute and funny, but
So when Beverly was in the trance, do you believe that Ben was the only one that could bring her out of it with a kiss?
The way that they wrote it,
It was
think
implied a little bit.
It was implied, and I think right then they were in war mode, and Bill wanted to find his brother. He was still holding out hope that he could find his brother. So, and he, he went and was like looking around. So yes,
Okay.
he was focused on his brother. He
Yeah.
was focused on killing the monster and finding his brother. Ben was the only one that could save her, and he loved her.
Yeah.
I think he really does purely love her. So
No, that was really nice. I actually am Team Ben. I don't know. I felt that. I mean, the initial attraction with Bill and Bev, it was there. They connected, but I think it was more on this like, you're cute, I'm cute. There was a connection with Beverly and Ben. And just from what we saw, not to say that, there's more compatibility or anything like that. I just think there's a little bit more deeper than just that initial attraction that usually would bring people together. And so, yeah, I'm probably Team Ben.
Yeah.
But I've always picked kind of the underdogs of a love triangle. I can't help it, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love Bill, though. I mean, it was all cute. So I think in the book, they were all in love with her.
Yeah, probably.
To varying degrees.
To an extent, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I loved it.
Yeah, overall, I think entertainment-wise, this movie was spot on greatness. I mean, I saw it a second time. I couldn't wait to watch it again. And, when I was there the first time, I could have sat there and watched chapter 2 without a blink of an eye. Like, I wouldn't have fallen asleep. I was so embedded and into it and involved, and I wanted to learn more about these kids. So I thought the story was great. We got to know these kids, and they had a very structured way of doing it in the TV series, and I'm more of the organizer, so I like that format. And I still think that even though they kind of jump back and forth between all the kids, they still gave most of them a good amount of time to develop their character, and you get a little bit of their backstory as well. Richie, we know nothing about, honestly. Like, we don't even see his parents. We know nothing. He is all about him and his friends. And
maybe that's why he got on my nerves, because it's like they just give him that where he's like, I'm the funny one.
Yeah. But, I my initial reaction to most of the scares were pretty good. It was the different kind of scare, though. I think it was just me just sort of putting myself in their position as a little child and just seeing all of those images. Just like with the headless child holding eggs to the leopard. Like, I don't want to see that stuff when I'm a kid. And that, to me, if I was them, like, that would have terrified me. So, for me, I just lost myself in the movie.
I think it would still terrify me even now. Like, what is that?
I thought those were pretty clever. And I think if Pennywise's job is to draw fear to you and not just attack you initially, those were good ways of doing it.
No, it was effective.
Just even when he's holding him and he's crying, he's like, oh poor baby, just in his face. He knew he was a bitch, and like he just used that to his advantage. So I thought that was good.
Hungry.
Yeah. So now we should get into. Okay, so you notice they released a date for part 2. Yes, September 8th, I think, in 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got
have to wait.
Yeah, we're gonna wait a little bit, but September is their release date, so there will be a chapter 2. Yeah. And in the second one, in case anybody doesn't know, we're going to see the adult versions of all these little kids. So me and Nate decided to come up with our own dream cast. And
I put a lot of thought into this.
So did I, actually. And so, yeah, we're going to take turns giving our choices of who we think would make good choices for these kids all grown up.
I can't wait.
Yes. So why don't you start first? Who are we going to start with?
Beverly.
Oh, God, the hardest one.
That was one of the easiest ones for me.
It wasn't for me. Okay. So just before we start, this is what I wanted to do, and I don't know if you did this. I tried to do my very best to match ages. These kids will probably be around 40 years old, give or take.
Yeah.
When they're adults, and yeah, we'll just go with that. We'll just start with that. So just age wise, and again, this is why I asked if Beverly was older than them,
but not that much.
Okay,
she's
but
maybe
not that
a
much.
year older.
Okay.
Even it's like in the book, they're all supposed to be 11. In this movie, they're all 13.
Okay.
Maybe Beverly's 14, but I don't even. I think she's 13 too. So I looked at actors who they're not like 40 like you would think of, like 40-year-olds. Like when you're a little kid, it's like, that's so old. Even now I'm like, 40? Oh, that's so far away. But I picked actors who most of them were like in their late 30s, with the exception of one who is in his early 30s, but he looks like he's been through some shit.
Okay.
So I'm gonna start with Beverly.
Okay.
Rochelle Lefevre. I'm not sure how to say her name, but
Here we
she
go.
is most
Okay.
famous for playing Victoria.
Oh, she was on my list.
Was she?
Yes, she was on my list. Oh,
I think she is such a, like, so physically, I think it's like, yeah, that little girl's gonna grow up to be her.
the moment you said her name, I didn't recognize the name right off the bat. But then, like you said, Victoria, I was like,
Yeah.
I picked her.
So she's most famous probably for being Victoria in the Twilight series. She was the evil redheaded vampire in the first two movies, and then they bitched out and replaced her with an actress because they're stupid.
Yeah, she's mostly famous for the Twilight series, and then she was on the Under the Dome, which is another Stephen King adaptation. She did the TV.
So she's already tied in.
Yeah,
with
she
family.
did the TV series already. So yeah, no, she was on my
I
list.
think she would be an excellent choice. She's in her
Okay.
late 30s as
Yeah.
a person, but I think it's like you don't have to look like you're this like dowdy.
She has kind of this
housewife.
tomboyish look to her too that Bev had.
And like, you know, when before she cut all her hair off, I'm like, they have the same hair.
Yeah,
That could be
exactly.
her.
Yeah.
So I think she can pull off the attitude. I think that she's a great actress. She's a lot of people probably don't always recognize her right away.
Yeah.
Because she's not Julia Roberts.
Exactly.
But I think she's a great actress.
Okay.
So that's my choice.
So I wrote down. I have actually 4. I'm not gonna say all 4, but
I only picked one.
I know, I couldn't help it. Okay, so I'll just tell you my initial top choice was Christina Hendricks.
I looked at her too, but then I was like, no.
I like Christina Hendricks. I haven't seen Mad Men that much. That's what she's most famous for.
Yeah.
But one of the criteria that I was looking for, again, age appropriateness. But I also wanted to adapt up and comers and people who are not in the public's eye that much, because that's kind of what they did with the kids. And I think bringing in unknowns, you don't have this sense of security when it comes to their characters that anything could happen to them. Because if you just put in a bunch of A-listers, it's just like,
Yeah.
I'm not afraid for you, especially if you're popular. They're going to try and use you for as much screen time as possible. So she was my top pick, but then I kind of like veered off to Rochelle. She was the best out of the 4 that I picked.
Yeah, I think compared to Christina, because Mad Men is huge. Everybody knows Christina Hendricks. And not to like jump on your shit, but I'm like, I think she's too sultry.
Okay.
In everything I've seen her, you know, she's very curvaceous and she's a good actress, but she doesn't have that like kind of like grittiness.
So yeah, the other person that I picked was Morale Enyos from The Killing.
I looked at her too.
Yeah,
But-
she to me comes with a lot of grittiness and like someone who's probably been
she's,
through
like,
some shit.
A little softer.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, it's like you look in her eyes and it's like, damn, girl,
Yeah, like you have a story.
what happened to
So
you?
she was, but I think she's a little bit on the older side. So to me, if Beverly was like 2 or 3 years older than the other kids, she would have been my top
Yeah.
pick. But no, honestly, Rochelle was
Yeah.
probably the best one.
And she sort of set the bar for me. She was like one of 2 that I first was like. So I was trying to match all of these people together.
Yeah,
like,
fair
can
enough.
I see all of these people like being sort of like a family?
yeah,
Um,
no, fair enough.
So I think that's cool. We both got
Okay.
basically the same. So
All right.
my next one is Mike.
Okay, we're doing Mike.
Yes, and this one was hard. This one took a while because I looked at a lot of different actors, and I really do want to be able to visually look and say like, yeah, you're gonna grow up to be this person,
Okay.
and also this is a good actor. So I picked an actor named Lamont Rucker,
Okay.
and he is most famous for Why Did I Get Married? He is the sheriff that Jill Scott ends up with.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's been in lots of other things.
Oh
but
yeah,
that's the
I've
thing
seen
that
him
I was
stuff.
like, hey,
he's currently on Greenleaf right now. It's this. Oh, so you know what Greenleaf is, right?
I know Greenleaf. I haven't seen it. But
Oh,
yeah.
okay, yeah. I'm currently watching it right now. A friend of mine got me into it. Yes, he's currently on there. No, that's an awesome. How old is he? Do you know?
He's older. But
Okay.
he looks. Of course he does.
Yeah.
He's 45.
Oh, okay.
But I was like, nah, he looks like he's the same age as all of these other actors. So,
You don't think he's too big though?
well, I haven't seen him.
Oh,
recently.
he's
But
buff.
No, I think that's fine.
Okay.
And I mean, you know, Mike, It was fine.
Okay.
But like facially, I was like, yeah.
Okay.
He could grow up to be him. I think he's a good actor. I think he's solid. And all of these actors, it's like, yeah, they're not the A-listers.
Yeah.
They are constantly working, and people will recognize them.
Yeah.
If you're fans of certain things, it's like, yeah, I know who that is exactly. But,
Okay.
So that was
All
my
right.
choice.
So for Mike, I picked Dule Hill. So he is most famous for Psyched.
Yeah.
And he was in this year's movie Slate. He played sort of the villain, the big game. So he's mostly seen as a funny character, but he does have a dramatic, chop to him. Age-wise, I think he worked. And again, he is noticeable and known, but not like up there. And I think that he could bring a good balance to the Losers Club. He doesn't stand out, but he's predominant. He's in there, so okay. I like him.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Bill.
Okay.
Now this one I did pick an A-lister because I couldn't resist the face. I was like, that's him.
Okay.
Tom Hiddleston.
Oh my god! How old is he? He looks like he's like.
I mean.
He looks super young. I see it.
I didn't look him up, but I feel like he looks like he's about the same age as everyone.
Okay.
He's somewhere in his 30s.
I like Tom.
Yeah, but I was just like, yeah, man, that's Bill. He looks just like him, and I feel like he's a great actor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he can, get that American accent going. It'll be fine.
So this is the guy from like Silicon Valley. Is that who I'm thinking of?
Tom Hiddleston is Loki.
Oh, you know who I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of oh my goodness. Who am I thinking of? The guy who's in those like Verizon commercials right now.
No,
god,
I don't see commercials. I have no idea.
Okay. God, I can't think of his name right now. Okay, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Tom Hiddleston.
Yes.
He's sexy.
He is sexy. Okay, so that's Bill. I went a little meta for this. And
what did you do?
I picked Alexander Skarsgård, Bill's brother in real life. So, what's his face from True Blood?
Oh man, you really got someone sexy. I don't know.
So the reason why I picked him was again just to have the brothers do a movie together. Okay. Brother against brother. But at the same time, I think that Bill had this very tall, sort of skinny narrowness to him, and I think Alexander pulls that off very well as far as looks wise. And again, I've seen him in other projects aside from True Blood, and I think that he can bring a little bit of someone who lost another and things like that. So I just picked him. And I also think that he's a good actor as well. I think I recommended this movie to you once he's in called Hidden. And it's a post-apocalyptic movie. Him and his wife and daughter are in this underground tunnel hiding from this disease that's up in the world. And I think he did a really good job in that. And so, I picked him for my Bill.
He's too sexy for me. No, can't do it. Stan.
Oh,
now this one,
okay.
it was kind of I struggled, but I was like, nah, I think I'm going to go with this one.
Okay.
Ben Foster.
Oh, okay.
I think Ben Foster is a very good actor, and I think he's a handsome, average-looking guy, but I think he can also look like some shit has happened.
I'm scared.
He's returned from war, so I picked Ben Foster.
Okay,
and I was trying to pick a Jewish actor.
Okay,
so I wanted to be appropriate.
Okay,
yes.
I went with somebody who could possibly pull off being scared, mortified, terrorized, and whatnot. But also somebody who, because we all know the fate of Stan. See, and so I didn't want to pick somebody who would just come in for
I thought it was one of the other ones.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, did I just spoil it for you?
No, you didn't spoil it because I know that something happens to someone. I thought it was Eddie.
Oh, because if you really, because it really sounds like you don't have any memory of the TV version, because that's how
I do.
That's how the first part ends.
I didn't remember which one of them
offed
themselves.
Okay, gotcha.
But I really thought it was Eddie for some reason.
So yeah, in the in the perspective of Ben Foster, I think he would be a little wasted because he is so good. I would hate for him to have such a smaller part. But no, like I said, so
they wasted him in X-Men. They can waste him in this one.
So I picked Billy Eichner.
Who's that?
So he is the guy who does Billy on the Street, Difficult People. He's in AHS Cult right now.
Yeah.
I picked him for that. Why are you laughing?
I don't know.
I like the actor. I think he's cool, and I think he
cool.
can pull off somebody who's like gonna, be in for like 5 seconds and just hit us hard with it.
I haven't seen him in AHS. So,
he's really good.
So okay.
And he's known to be a comedian.
Yeah,
so I love the fact that he's doing sort of this dramatic thing now. But yeah, so I picked Billy.
Richie,
the funny comedian.
Now this actor in real life, he's only 31.
Okay.
But he can definitely look like he hasn't slept for like 5 years.
Okay.
Have you seen the show Humans? It's a British TV show.
I do. I don't remember everything, but I can easily like.
So he is the actual human that is traveling with them. His name is Colin Morgan.
Okay.
He's an Irish actor, I think. Irish or Scottish. But he looks a lot like little Finn, I think. I think Finn could grow up to be him, and I was like, damn, son, you definitely look like on Humans at least. It's like, ooh, he just never rests, he never like gets a nap. So I could see him doing it.
Is he's the one also on Merlin, I think. I'm looking
so,
up
yes.
because I wanted to. Is this him?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. No, I see that for sure. Look wise for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think he's a talented actor, so I'm sure he could, I'm sure it would be nice to not, because, Richie is still a mess. So I'm sure it would be fun to just, like, play someone who's not constantly brooding.
Okay. So Richie, I wanted to pick somebody who is known to be, a funny guy. And just always mouthing off something and just getting on everybody's nerves. I picked Charlie Day. So he is famous for It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He did a movie called Fist Fight with Ice Cube.
Oh, is he the main guy?
Yes, he's the main guy. If you were to watch him on Sunny in Philadelphia, you would probably get just as annoyed as you did with Richie as you do with Charlie Day's character. He's been on a lot of other stuff. He was on Horrible Bosses and all this other stuff. And again, I've seen this actor just be completely neurotic and scared. I just see him playing Richie. So he's a little shorter, but again, who knows how tall these people are going to be when they actually grow up. So he was my pick for Richie.
Okay, all right. We are casting 2 totally different movies.
Yes.
But at least we'll have Rochelle. Just kidding. Eddie.
All right.
Eddie's going to grow up to be hot. I'm sure of it. Milo Ventimiglia.
No, you didn't.
I did.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he just reminded me of him, and it's like he's the tiniest one, and we all know Milo's not like this like giant hulking person, but he's still sexy. And I could just see him like every time he opened his mouth, he's like, "Fuck this shit," and I was like, "Yeah, that's Milo to me."
Okay. So he kind of kicked the habit of the whole asthma thing early on in the film. See, they made that a very big thing for him as an adult because he was still on it. He was still living with his mom. I don't know of his future. He's the only one that's going to be unpredictable for me because I haven't read the book. But it's completely different from what I saw in the TV series or the miniseries. So I don't know what he's going to... So I was kind of thinking about his character as he grows up. And I still kept him in this sort of like germaphobe, like still a mama's boy type of guy. I went with Big Bang Theory's John Galecki. So he's had a bit of a horror background to begin with anyway, because he's been in a couple of stuff. And just his character in Roseanne just brings me back to him when I think of Eddie. So he is my choice for him. I think he has the look too, and somebody who grows up I think would look like him.
Okay. Ben was hard too, but I settled on James Corden.
Oh,
Look-wise,
interesting.
I felt like that is definitely him. He's usually more funny. He does karaoke, driving.
Well,
whatever.
he did, Into the Wood.
But he did Into the Woods, and I mean that wasn't like 100% serious. But I was like,
his
I think he could
character
do
wasn't that upbeat though. So yeah, he does have a
So I think
possibility
he could,
of doing it.
I think he could do it. I think he's very sympathetic and
Mm-hmm.
sweet. He can be. He's. So I was like, yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna go with that.
All right. For my bin, I picked Chris Evans' little brother, Scott Evans. He is also gay in real life as well. So I wanted to.
Who?
You don't know Chris Evans' brother?
No.
Yeah. So like,
funny.
if you look up like siblings who like love their gay siblings or whatever, like Chris
Aw.
Evans is such an advocate for his brother.
That's nice.
And so yeah, some of the titles he was in is The Lovely Bones. I think he had like a small part in that. He's currently in this show called Daytime Divas, which is on VH1.
Yes.
And so this is him. So
I don't recognize him, but yeah, I think that's
so
good
I
too.
so I see Ben
That's good.
in that, and
yeah, that could be him.
he's 34. So I mean, he's a little bit on the younger side, but he was my pick for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. I've never heard of him. You told me that we had to pick someone for Henry, even though I'm like, Henry's fucking dead. He doesn't even need to be in the
I
second
don't think
half.
he is though, and
How
yeah,
the fuck do you not die?
I don't know, but they'll think of something.
I just don't. I don't.
Until you see a body, it's horror movie rule number 1. Always see a body.
Fell down a damn well and like hit his head 5 times on the way down. That bitch is dead. But anyway, I picked Brad Dourif.
Brad Dourif.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think that Lil Henry's gonna grow up to be Brad Dourif, and I think that he has the chops to be crazy.
Okay.
So
For my Henry, I picked Steven Dorff because he is a shit talker, and he
Wait.
knows how to put on a meat. What is that? Who you meant?
yes, not Chucky. I don't know why I put that.
You are hilarious,
Steven Dorff.
Steven Dorff. Look at that
So
too.
silly.
Yeah.
I always do that with their names. Yeah, I
Uh-huh.
meant Steven Dorff. Yes.
When I wasn't thinking about age, I actually had Day Hanan in there. The one who played Goblin in the Spider-Man movie, and he was in Chronicle.
I didn't see.
Yeah.
Oh, him.
Yeah,
him.
I picked him as a grown-up bully, but obviously age-wise it wasn't going to work. But then I was like,
Yeah.
okay. But Steven
Steven
Dorff,
Dorff.
yeah,
He looks
that
like
is his
The whole
part.
time I was watching the movie, I was like, "That's gonna be Steven Dorff."
Yeah.
And then he fell down the well, and I was like, "Well, sorry, Steven, you're not gonna be able to come meet us." But yeah, I think he would be a perfect choice.
Yes, I think he's completely perfect for that role. So
Has a
okay,
nice
look at
little
that.
horror resume already. So we'll see.
Exactly.
I didn't pick an Audra because
You didn't?
one,
Okay.
we don't have her as a child, and I
Well,
was just like,
So if you
pick
remember,
whoever,
Audra is supposed to be somebody that reminds Bill of Beverly because
Yeah.
he's still in love with her. So he marries a woman that reminds him of her, and it's just
Yeah.
sort of this because they go on this thing about the kids who grow up and they literally forget about their childhood in Derry. But for some reason, there are little tidbits that hold on to their childhood, and that's one of the seeping things is that he still thinks of Beverly, and so he marries to fit that.
yeah.
And so yeah.
The only I didn't pick one, but the thought I had of Audra would have been Muriel.
Okay. Okay.
Because I was
Ineos,
like, yeah,
yeah.
I think that she looks like,
Okay.
she's kind of that way, but then she's sort of not Beverly.
Exactly.
She's softer, and so I thought, yeah, she could do that.
Okay. I went with Brace Dallas.
I thought of her too, but then I was like, no, she got too much. She does too much. She's A-list to me.
Oh,
you know?
okay.
Like she's too well known.
All right.
But I think that she'd be a good choice too. So
Okay.
that was our long ass list, and
Yeah.
we got through it. We'll see you in 2019, chapter
Yeah.
2. I have another question for you.
Okay.
What's the scariest thing that ever happened to you?
The scariest thing that ever happened to me. I don't like being lost. I really don't like it. And currently I don't drive either. So when I've got somebody else controlling the driving and we're lost, it creeps me out because I have no control over it. I have to depend on the driver and everything that's going on. There was a time that I was on a road trip and we got lost. He didn't know where he was going, and I just didn't like where we were, and it just freaked me out. I don't like that sense. It's just something I don't like. So that's kind of one of the scariest moments that I've had. Yeah.
Okay.
What about you?
The scariest thing that ever happened to me is the scariest thing that did not happen to me. I was about 8 years old, maybe 9. I was in a department store with my grandmother and my sister. And my grandma, I think she was looking at a TV or something, or she was talking to one of the people, asking questions, and I had to pee really bad. But I was like, I hate using public restrooms, it's weird. But I had to go. So I ran to the other side of, I don't know, it was like Sears or something. Ran to the other side of the store, and you know, there's like a little hallway that you have to go down to get to the restroom. And as I'm coming down the hallway, I see this man. He's like in his 30s somewhere, and he looks at me, and he goes into the bathroom, and I stopped, and I had to pee, but I didn't go in. I went back to my grandma, and I was like, I'll just wait until we go home. We're gonna leave soon. 5-10 minutes later, I have to pee. It's so bad. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna piss myself. I went back to the bathroom and I looked down the hallway and I'm like, okay, no one's there. I go to the restroom and there's like this little like space between the actual restroom. So I open that door, go into the space, open the next door, and he's there.
And he's still there. Jeez.
He's at the urinal and he turns and he looks at me. And I ran. Because I knew that something was wrong.
No, good job. Good job. I mean, if anything, based on instincts or gut feeling, like, you don't even want to even go there. Yeah. No, good for you.
And I mean, I didn't say anything to anyone. I never told anyone when I was a kid. But I should have said, there's a fucking weirdo in the bathroom. He's up to no good.
Yeah.
Because he looked at me and I could just tell something was up.
No, I hear you. Wow. Yeah, that's that's pretty deep.
Not too deep for this show.
Cause bitch, I ain't scared. So yeah, that is our review of it. There are obviously so much that we could have dived more into, but I mean, a big part of this movie, I think, was the children and their development, you know, just like growing up and just, you know, their characters. So that's kind of where our focus was during this review. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one.
I did too.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you saw it because I knew that you would like it. That's why I wanted to rush you so bad.
Yeah, it was really good. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Glad I saw it. It's very disturbing and things happen to children, so be warned.
Yeah.
But yes, we're gonna give you a brief little, not intermission, but you know, we got chatty. So hope you enjoyed our review and dive into it.
And then we'll close it out with the quick bitch really, and then we'll see you next week.
I mean, I already gave my bitch really for it. I mean, why the fuck did they separate? The shit has already hit the fan. They know there's an evil demon clown, and they're like,
well, what's that over there? I'm gonna go by myself.
no, that was
Don't separate kids. Stay together.
I don't care how old you
Strength
are.
in numbers.
Bitch, really? Y'all know some shit went down.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we're gonna give you some more clowns in a bonus, and you'll hear from us shortly.
Yeah.